I want to talk to you today about the power of silence. I want to speak to you about the importance of focusing on your own journey and not being distracted by the noise of this world. The world we live in is filled with distractions, social media, opinions, gossip, and criticism. People love to talk. They talk about you, they talk about your past, they talk about your mistakes. But I have come to tell you today, it is time to stop listening to the voices of the world and start listening to the voice of God. The world we live in today is filled with noise, constant chatter, opinions from every direction, and distractions that can pull us away from what truly matters. Everywhere we turn, people have something to say about how we should live, what we should do, and who we should be. The voices of society, social media, friends, family, and even strangers try to shape our identity. But in the midst of all this noise, we often forget the most important voice of all, the voice of God. Many people waste their energy trying to meet the expectations of others, seeking approval and worrying about opinions that hold no real value. They let criticism discourage them, they let rejection define them, and they let doubt creep into their hearts because they have been too focused on the wrong voices. But the Bible tells us in Lamentations 3:26, "It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord." That means we don't need to constantly respond to the world. We need to be still and trust that God is leading us in the right direction. Jesus himself was criticized, mocked, and doubted. The Pharisees constantly tried to trap him with their words. The crowds that once praised him later shouted for his crucifixion. People questioned his authority, his mission, and his identity. But Jesus did not allow their words to distract him from his purpose. He did not waste time defending himself to those who were never going to believe in him anyway. He remained focused, and he stayed silent when necessary. He knew that his purpose was not to win arguments, but to fulfill the will of his Father. So why do we allow the opinions of others to control us? Why do we let negative voices take up space in our minds? The more we listen to the noise of the world, the more we lose sight of who we are in Christ. Instead of looking outward for validation, we must look upward for direction. God has already called you, chosen you, redeemed you, and loved you. You don't need to seek approval from people when you already have the approval of your Creator. When we stop listening to the noise of the world, we gain clarity. We stop second-guessing ourselves. We stop feeling the need to explain every decision. We stop wasting time on things that don't matter and start focusing on what does, our purpose, our faith, and our growth. There is freedom in silence. When you stop trying to respond to every critic, when you stop worrying about every opinion, and when you stop chasing the approval of others, you will experience peace like never before. You will hear God's voice more clearly, and you will move forward with confidence knowing that He is leading the way. So today, make a decision. Stop listening to the noise, start listening to God, and focus on the path He has set before you. The world will always have something to say, but only one voice truly matters, the voice of the one who created you. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. Too many people go through life feeling the need to explain themselves, defend their actions, or justify their choices to others. They feel pressured to meet the expectations of society, friends, family, or even strangers. But the truth is, no matter what you do, there will always be someone who doesn't understand you, doesn't support you, or doesn't believe in you. And that's okay. Your purpose is not to convince people of your worth. Your purpose is to walk in the calling that God has placed on your life. Jesus himself faced constant criticism. The religious leaders doubted him. The people questioned him. And even his own disciples sometimes struggled to fully grasp his mission. Yet, Jesus never felt the need to prove himself to anyone. He didn't waste time arguing with those who refused to believe. He didn't try to convince the Pharisees that he was the Son of God. He simply stayed focused on his mission. When they mocked him, he remained silent. When they accused him falsely, he let his actions speak for themselves. His miracles, his love, his sacrifice. These things spoke louder than any words ever could. Many people struggle with self-doubt because they are too focused on what others think of them. They live for the approval of people instead of the approval of God. But Galatians 1:10 says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ."
When you understand that you don't have to prove yourself to anyone, you will walk in freedom. You will no longer feel the need to explain why you are making certain decisions, why you are growing, why you are changing, or why you are choosing to follow God's plan for your life. People may not understand you. They may not support you. But their understanding is not required for your success. Some of the most powerful moments in life happen in silence. When you stop trying to prove yourself, when you stop chasing validation, and when you simply focus on doing what God has called you to do, the results will speak for themselves. Your growth will be your proof. Your success will be your answer. Your life will be the testimony. Nehemiah was building a wall when his enemies tried to distract him. They called out to him, trying to get him to come down and argue. But Nehemiah responded in Nehemiah 6:3, "I am doing a great work and I cannot come down." That needs to be your mindset. You are doing a great work in your life. You are growing, changing, and stepping into God's purpose for you. Do not come down to argue with people who don't matter. Stay focused, stay silent, and let your life be the proof of God's hand upon you. Focusing on your own growth is one of the most important things you can do in life. Too many people spend their time looking at what others are doing instead of working on themselves. They compare their journey, their success, and their progress with those around them. But the truth is, comparison is a distraction. It steals your joy, wastes your time, and keeps you from becoming the person God has called you to be. God has a unique plan for your life. He did not create you to follow someone else's path or to live according to someone else's timeline. Galatians 6:4 says, "Let each one examine his own work, and then he will have reason for boasting in himself alone and not in someone else." In other words, focus on what God is doing in your life. Your journey is different from anyone else's, and when you compare yourself to others, you lose sight of the blessings God has placed before you. One of the biggest traps in life is constantly measuring yourself against others. Distractions are one of the enemy's greatest weapons against your purpose. The moment you decide to grow, the moment you choose to focus on your goals, distractions will come. They come in the form of negativity, unnecessary drama, the opinions of others, and even self-doubt. But if you allow these distractions to take your focus, you will never reach the destiny God has planned for you. The enemy doesn't have to destroy you. He just has to distract you. That needs to be your attitude in life. You are doing a great work. You are growing, improving, and stepping into the purpose God has for you. You do not have time for distractions. You do not have time for negative people. You do not have time for useless drama. You cannot come down.